In progress.
All right, everyone, I want to destroy this false idea of the leftover woman. There are no leftover women, there are leftover men. This guy goes to China. He's seen as higher status by some Chinese woman than the average male population, so she starts coming on to him. There's a glut of single men. So if she's coming on to him, it's because she sees him as higher status than the man around. None of the men there are good enough for her. Okay. So let's get into this and we'll see what this guy has to say. And I will debunk his bullshit.
So a leftover woman once tried incredibly hard to seduce me.
No, she wasn't left over.
There is this ridiculous phenomenon in China. I'm sure everybody's heard of the shortage of women in China, because of the one-child policy and selective abortions and things like that.
The only thing ridiculous about this is that you believe in it.
You have a lot more men than women. Of course, in the cities you wouldn't know, but in the rural parts of China, it's very apparent. When you drive through or ride through like I have on motorcycles, you get to realize very quickly that out there are very few women. And the women you do see are usually very old grandmothers.
That's a beautiful woman. And the one earlier they showed was beautiful. This is a beautiful woman. Men in this country, my country, who am I kidding? Western world would love these women.
Others or very young children. The thing is, you would think, because of this gender imbalance, that leftover women wouldn't exist.
They don't. It's leftover men. You think, look at these guys, everyone. You think none of these guys would hit on the beautiful woman he's going to show later? Of course they would. The Western world, by the way, is full of men on dating sites desperately trying to get with women of any age. So what it is, the woman who hit on him doesn't see any of these men good enough for her. That's what's going on.
And I guess I need to tell you what a leftover woman is. In China, if a woman is not married or is not in a relationship by the time they hit around 30 years old, they kind of become undesirable.
That might have been true in the past when every woman was latching onto a man because she wanted to provide her. You would have to truly be an ugly woman for that. There'd have to be something seriously wrong with you. That has been true probably for at least 3 generations. Any woman who's over 30 is not with a man, doesn't want to be with a man. That's what's going on. It's leftover men, not women.
Nobody wants to marry them. And it's a really stupid situation. So if a woman is focused on her career...
It's only stupid if you believe in the hogwash, if you believe in the hogwash of leftover women. But it makes perfect sense if you're willing to come to terms with reality.
Or maybe she's had other priorities in her life and doesn't want to get married at a young age. She tends to reach that age and then nobody wants to marry her. And this is
bullshit. She doesn't want to marry any of the guys beneath her. She sees the average guys beneath her and she doesn't want to marry them. That's why, here's the thing this guy doesn't want to admit, that's why he looks so sad, is that Western men are seen as having higher status than all the millions, literally millions of Chinese men there. That's why he looks so sad, by the way, everyone. He knows this woman who came onto him doesn't actually care about him as a human being.
A tragic situation, and you see this a lot. So you see a lot of rich, successful women, and now they can't get married because in China, the families will not allow their sons to marry a leftover woman.
This is bullshit. He's blaming the families. Why is it sad if they're rich and they're successful? Then there's nothing to be sorry about. These women, pal, these women could just shack up with a guy and say he's such a great guy. But they don't, do they? So it's not tragic for the women.
Regarding a leftover woman. When I was teaching English back in the day, and this is what everybody used to do, is you'd have your main job. So I'd teach kindergarten, and then I moved on to teaching at a training center. So I was teaching at a fairly good training center. But what people would do is they would do private work. And it comes very easily, because usually what happens is you have a client or you're teaching somebody, especially if you're doing business English or if you're teaching a corporation. So I would go in and maybe train a bunch of managers at a software company or something. And then one of them will have a friend who wants to learn English or wants their children to learn English. And they will always approach you and say, hey, you know, my friend wants you to teach their son, or my friend wants you to teach their daughter English, or my friend wants you to teach them English. And I'd always, you know, decline, especially if it was children, because, you know, I taught kindergarten for about 1.5 years, and it was hell on earth. No joke. Anyone who's ever had to teach a bunch of 4 or 5-year-old little emperors running around blowing their noses on you and stuff, you know, you kind of get over it really quickly. Thing is, through one of these connections, I was told there's a young interior designer, young woman who wants me to teach her English. So, you know, I agreed to
I want you guys to look at this woman. Even with the face pixelated, she's got a beautiful face. She's got a beautiful body. The average guy would go after this woman in a heartbeat, including the guy here.
meet up, and the usual thing when you're going to start a business relationship in China is you go for dinner. So we all went for dinner, you know, my client and this lady and myself. So we went for dinner. We went to a really swank place. I was quite surprised, because it's usually just a run-of-the-mill restaurant, but this one was really nice. So I was like,
of course, she's trying to impress you. She wants the high status foreigner really bad.
oh, that's interesting. So she seemed very nice, and she's successful. Like I said, she ran an interior design company. And
then why are you so sad for her then, if her life is so successful?
She asked me to come give her private lessons at home, and I agreed. Once a week I'd go there, and I suggested a book that she should get, like a textbook. Back in the day, you know, when you're into ESL, you learn all the good books that are available for people to learn. So I recommended a good book for her. I did some prep for our lessons and all that. And I turned up at her place at the appointed time, appointed day. And the first lesson actually went really well. She seemed quite interested in the textbook, and she was, you know, her English was pretty poor, to be honest. But a lot of these sort of professional...
Which means she either wants to learn English really bad, or maybe she's never cared to learn English. That she just was setting up a trap for you.
Women, they like to learn English because they like to expand their businesses abroad, of course, and to deal with clients overseas and so on.
Yeah, so that might have been it too. Maybe she didn't see you as high status. Maybe she just saw you as another means to an end. And say, yeah, this guy can teach me English and I get even more money, more success.
So the thing is, it all went really well, seemed fine. She cooked me lunch, which I found was a little odd. It was very nice of her. And
it's not odd if the woman sees you as a catch. And especially if they're taught that being the so-called submissive woman and cooking for man would catch a man. See, that's not odd at all, is it?
Everything. I told her it's not necessary, but I enjoyed it anyway. And it started to get weird from then on. Like every time I turned up.
How is it weird if this woman's coming on to you? Everyone notice how this guy is expressing it? So an attractive woman, and she is an attractive woman, coming on to you, isn't it just a woman coming on to a guy? How's it weird? I'll tell you how it's weird. This guy here knows the woman was not interested in him as a human being. There was nothing special about him. And that's why he has such a downtrodden, sad face over this. This woman has lost nothing, by the way. She is not a tragedy in any way. This guy knows he wasn't seen as cared about as a human being. That's what's going on here.
She would like scoot right up next to me and, you know, be very close and kind of...
Yeah, I'd love that pretty girl to scoot up close to me and be close. And so would this guy, everyone listening. So why is it weird to him? Because he knows in his heart of heart that he is not seen, he's not loved for himself. There is no love there. That's why he finds it weird.
Find excuses to bump into me, and she started to wear sort of more skimpy clothes type thing. Now, I'll be the first person to admit that I'm pretty dumb when it comes to the opposite sex. I usually kind of don't pick up on signals, and obviously she.
I've seen guys make this bullshit all the time claim. This guy picks up the signals, and so have you guys. He knows what the signals are perfectly. There's two things going on here. One is the women's signals are always plausible deniability. They've always got an escape route, so they could turn around and say, "Oh, that wasn't a come on. I was lying, or not lying. That wasn't a come on. You're mistaken." That's what their women's come on are always designed for. Plausible deniability. And secondly, all you guys know that women love to hit on guys, so they enjoy rejecting you. So they put out the signals, the guy goes for it, and then the woman slams him. It says, why you acting like I was coming on to you? Women love to do that to men. So as a lifetime of that behavior, men start pretending they don't understand because they don't want to deal with the fact that women abuse them in that way.
She was sending these signals loud and clear, but they weren't working, so she stepped it up a game. So I turned up one day, and usual thing, in my suit, I got my lesson prepared.
But why weren't they working? It's not because this guy didn't really know that she was coming on to her, right? It's because he knew what was going on in his heart of hearts.
To teach her and stuff, and we're sitting down and doing the work. And I noticed that there's like porn magazines all around, because she had like a little office that we used to do the lessons in. She had like porn magazines, literally like Playboy and stuff like that, lying around the office. And I was like,
and you know something, everyone? This woman could simply come up to this guy and be honest with him and say, I'm interested in you. But she would rather play these games because no matter what she does, she can lie and say, I wasn't interested in this guy. And people are going to believe her.
What is she doing? And she had like some of the centerfolds open, and things. And I just pretended to ignore them. But she kept trying to divert my attention to them. And she was like trying to say, like, don't you like this artwork? Something like that. And then point to like a magazine. And
yeah, like, so why is this guy so sad? You know why? Because him, along with all the rest of us, would actually love this scenario if we thought the woman was actually interested in us as human beings. He knows in his heart of heart that this woman did not care about him as he was, as the person he is.
And I was like, yeah, it looks good, let's carry on with the lesson type thing. So that didn't work. So she knocked it up another notch. Next time I came along, we're busy doing the usual thing. She cooked me lunch, which was really nice, and I appreciated it. And don't get me wrong, it's not like she wasn't an attractive woman, but I was in a relationship at the time, and there's something that I absolutely will never do, and that is cheat on someone. It's just...
Sorry, I don't believe in this bullshit to me. Sorry. This guy is acting unattractive. Look, if a man really thought this woman was turned on by him, he would love this and he'd be tempted. This guy wasn't tempted because he knew what was going on. You know what? If this woman really was crazy over him, he would be a happy video. He'd be coming on saying, wow, I had this girlfriend who thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread back in the West. And I had these women coming on to me in the East too. This is incredible. You see, this is how men really react if we believe the woman cares about us. So he's posturing here. He's putting up a strong man front. He's rejecting this woman because he knows she doesn't give a shit about him as a person.
It's baked into my DNA, and I just cannot stand the idea of doing that anyway, I just don't do that. So she was attractive, and who knows, maybe if I was single I maybe, but at the same time I also don't like to take advantage of someone in a desperate situation.
Now listen to that. Maybe if I was single. If this guy was single, listen to me, single, He would love pretty women coming on to him. And he would go for it, and she'd be his girlfriend. So he's full of shit when he says this. This guy is feeding you a bunch of horse shit. And he's not taking advantage of anyone either. This woman isn't down and out. So he's full of shit.
Situation, so I probably wouldn't have done anything anyway. Thing is, this time around, off the top of a shelf, and she's like, I want to show you something. So I'm like, okay. So she starts going through this photo.
Okay, he's just going to go on and on about how this woman keeps coming on to him stronger and stronger, and he can't get it. Okay, so he's going to let her down, and notice her reaction.
It was like, do you want to go to the bedroom, basically? And I was like, you know, I don't want to give you the wrong idea here. You know, I'm in a relationship, and you know, I think you're a very attractive woman and all that stuff. And she was like, it didn't catch on with her, so she was like, okay. She told me, I want.
It did catch on with her, buddy. She just doesn't care if that you're in a relationship. This bullshit that men are the hound dogs and women are the ones who are into commitments. That's bullshit. She doesn't care that you're in a relationship. She doesn't care about the other woman. She wants you for herself. That's all she cares about. Women's behavior is projected onto men.
I want you to go and get an STD check at the hospital. You know, this is all in Chinese and stuff because her English is pretty poor. She's like, I want you to go and get an STD check. Next time you come here, you know, we're going to do it, basically. And I was like, I just didn't know where to go with this. It was incredibly uncomfortable. So
yeah, but why? You know, if some beautiful woman came on to me, and what she is, because the photo you showed, I would love it. It's just that I'd only love it if I thought in my mind that she was actually attracted to me. So this guy knows this woman is not attracted to him as a person. She sees him as a status symbol, and that's why she wants it. He's an object to her. That's why he's so sad. Like, by rights, he should be very tempted, like I said before. And this would be great bragging rights to say, yeah, I got this woman at home that loves me, and then they have all these Asian girls dying to get with me. But he knows she's not dying to get with him.
I kind of,
as a human being,
stopped going there after that. I just kind of made excuses. Sorry, I can't come this week. I'm too busy or whatever. And I just never went back there again. Thing is, she was still on my social media, and things worked out for her. She actually, she did end up marrying a foreigner, a French guy, I think.
Exactly. That's what you meant to her. And that's why he's so sad. Because as soon as he was off the table, she just jumped to the next guy. He meant nothing to her. And look at the sad look on his face. Like, this beautiful woman came on to me and I meant nothing to her in the end. The only difference is he can't admit it and I can.
And, you know, lots of happy pictures of them together and all that. So I'm incredibly happy for her. And
no, he's not happy for her. This is a sad, pathetic looking man. I feel sorry for the French guy she got together with. That's what I feel. Because I know he means nothing to her either.
Why is it that this all took place? You know, why was she so desperate, and why did she try to find?
She wasn't desperate. She was never desperate. She was in great position of her life. She had all these low status men that she could pick at any time. What's your name? Serpent Za. Well, she was never desperate. She felt contempt for the man beneath her, and she was shopping. She was shopping around. That's not desperation.
Find an English teacher, you know, to be her to marry. Because look, she had money. She used to, she used to find excuses to try and drive
But
me around in her Mercedes.
she wasn't going after an quote unquote English teacher. She was going after a Westerner, someone she saw as a foot in the ground to the Western world. That's what you were to her.
Like, oh, I'll drop you off at home. And she did once. I was like, okay, sure, thank you. And, she had a big, expensive Mercedes, which for China, it means you're very rich. If you can afford a nice, flashy, top-of-the-line Mercedes-Benz, means you're loaded. Obviously, she was a very successful woman. And I'm just an English teacher at the time. I'm not making a lot of money. I make my own money.
I already answered why she was after you, yes.
I'm not poor or anything, but I'm not rich or anything. So why is it that she would go out of her way to try and seduce me in order to marry me? Because that was her end goal. And that's simply because...
No, he's going to give you a line of bullshit. She could dump this guy at any time, just like here in the West. This was a means to an end. That's why she was after him.
A woman in her position, and I mean, like, looks-wise, she's about a 6 out of 10, so she's...
I would say 7.
not like stunning or anything, but she wasn't bad at all. A woman in her position will find it incredibly difficult to marry a Chinese man for a couple...
No, he's full of shit. And he's giving you a plate of shit to eat. There are millions, literally millions of desperate, lonely Chinese men would hook up with this woman in a heartbeat. And they're not doing it because their family's refusing them. This woman doesn't want these men. And as you can see, this man who she courted wasn't important to her either, because she jumped to a Frenchman just like that. So he's feeding you a line of horseshit.
Couple of reasons. Number one, the whole leftover woman thing. She was in her 30s, early 30s. She's probably about 32, I would say, at a guess. I didn't ask her age because that's impolite. But I guess she's about 32. And having a child is probably the most important thing in the Chinese family unit.
So what? It wasn't important to her. She wasn't after you for a child.
So once you hit 32, you're already right at the edge where, it's going to be difficult to have children. Of course, we all know that it's totally possible. My wife actually had...
People only cared in China, or even in West in the past, of having children to look after them in their old age. But if this woman is highly successful and she's smart with her money, she doesn't need someone to look after her financially if she puts her money away. So she's not desperate.
Our child, like only a year ago, So it's not an impossibility. And it's just one of those things. Well, 7 months ago, I should say. It's when our daughter's just hit 7 months now, which is awesome. Very happy about that. Anyway.
Yeah, you look really happy.
What I was trying to say is that, first of all, fertility is the first thing that they think about. But...
Sorry, this is bullshit. China is a rapidly they're already industrialized. They're rapidly becoming first world. I'd say they are first world right now. And that's why you see single women in 30s riding around with Mercedes cars. And they act just like Western women, because women and men are all the same worldwide.
They also think that if a woman has not been married or been in a serious relationship or something by that age, that there must be something wrong with her.
Yeah.
And this is a conversation
he's full of shit. These women are acting just like Western women. They're high status. They want a man higher status than them. That's it. That's all that's going on here. And they won't deign to touch these low status bums. That's how they see these average guys, low status bums. They won't touch them. And that's why he's so sad all the time, because he got in a relationship, or could have gotten a relationship with a woman who was, let's face it, she was good looking. And guess what? He knew that he was just a stepping stone. He knew he was just being used. And that's why he's so sad. And I'm not going to play any more of this pathetic video of his. That's what went on. All the guys listening here, that's what went on here. And that's why he's so sad. Because he realized this woman just wanted to use him. And she would have tossed him aside when she felt like it. So that's the end of this video. Sorry, pal, but there are no leftover women in China. Goodbye, everyone.